Welcome to Fangirl Football. I'm Judy.
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Lauren.
Welcome to Fangirl Football. Today we are going to build daily fantasy lineups in DraftKings. If you missed our DFS 101, a beginner's guide to daily fantasy sports episode, you might want to go check it out first. You can find it linked in the description. Daily fantasy sports can be a thrilling roller coaster where every lineup decision counts and each week is a fresh start. But with so many players, matchups, and variables to consider, building that lineup can feel like a puzzle. So let's review DFS to start. Daily fantasy sport contests are short-term, lasting one game or a set of games. These games come in different types, and the main ones are large entry tournaments like most popular Millionaire Makers. Think of these contests as lottery tickets, exciting to win, but you rarely do. Double up or cash games are where you can double your entry fee, and there are also beginner-only contests and some free sponsored tournaments that are free to play but have a prize pool. So Judy, show us how to set a lineup for daily fantasy sports.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Let's go into DraftKings and you'll see my DraftKings lobby here. I'm in the DraftKings lobby. If I'm going to only look at NFL because I'm not really comfortable playing other sports, you can play a lot of other sports in here. So we'll click on NFL and now we're just going to scroll down a little bit. You'll see the game styles. So we've got classic, which is your normal fantasy lineup. So you need a quarterback and two running backs and a couple wide receivers, a flex spot, a tight end, a defense. That's classic. Then you have the showdown captain mode, which is going to be playing only a single game. And next week, we'll build a showdown captain mode lineup for the Thursday night game. Today, we're going to skip that and focus only on classic. Best ball, snake, those are before the season starts and you've got to actually draft a team. Madden Classic and Madden Showdown, those are e-games. So I've never played those. We're going to stay away from that. So we're going to go where everything really first started, which was classic fantasy football. So we'll click on the classic button and you'll see that it's now got my game set. So it's telling me the games that are going to be included in the NFL games that are going to be included in the contest that I'm entering. You can click on that and you can see all the 12 games. These are going to be all the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games on Sunday afternoon in this featured 12 game set. If you look on down, you'll see a list of contests and you can filter the entry fee. You can filter the contest type. So we just talked about, Tiffany, you mentioned the tournaments. So you can look at only tournaments if that's what you want to play, or you can play the 50-50s and the double ups. The head-to-head allows you to challenge somebody else to play against you. And we're not going to go into the satellites and qualifiers. They give away some things and tickets into other contests, and that's kind of what that is. So we're going to focus on our tournaments. You'll also, if you hover over the eye on contest types, one of the things that I want to mention is you can see on this list of contest types, there's a beginner. I can't play beginner contests, so I can't filter them. I can't even see them. But you can see that beginner contests are in here, and that allows beginner players to play only against other beginners and not against people who have been playing daily fantasy for years.
So I think that's where I'm going to try and start after this.
Yes, that's ideal. That is exactly what you should do, and you should start there, although there aren't a lot of tournaments that are going to be the beginner contest, but that's okay. You can still start there. I'm sure there's something still there. We're going to go to the contests that don't cost a lot. You could filter on $1, you can filter on 25 cents. We're going to just go with a quarter lineup right now. And so now I'm looking at free to 25-cent contest and tournaments and my 12 game set. You can see the total prizes here. So I like this 30K quarter jukebox for a quarter, and it's a classic style. The entry fee's a quarter, and they're guaranteeing that G means that it's guaranteed. So we don't have this problem very often now, but back when daily fantasy kind of first started, sometimes you see the entries over here. They're expecting 20,000 entries, and there were some contests that if they didn't fill up, they would just refund your money. And there probably still are lower down, but the G means that it's guaranteed. So even if this contest doesn't fill, DraftKings is putting up that prize pool. And sometimes that's a good way to get a little bit of an advantage. If you can find one of those that isn't filling, then you've got less entries and more prizes than they expected, and you have a little bit of an advantage. Doesn't happen very often right now. So that's what they call, I think, overlay. Anyhow, just means guaranteed going to give away 30,000. You can click on the entry fees and you can see that first place is going to get $1,500 for their quarter entry. You can also see that you can enter the multi-entry up here at the top, that you can enter 20 entries into this. So you could enter $5 and max out on your entries here. The rules and scoring, it's all the same throughout DraftKings for Classic and Showdowns. How many points you get for a passing touchdown, rushing touchdown. It's pretty standard. They are 1 point per reception, and that's kind of the only thing to note. They also give your bonuses for your quarterback having a big game. Let's see, where is my bonuses?
They were further up at the top, I think.
Were they up at the top? Okay, I missed that. So in here, you can see all the rules and scoring if you want to. So let's go ahead and enter this contest. We'll click enter. I already have some lineups created, so it wants me to enter my lineups in here. I'm going to skip that for now, and I'm going to click create new lineup. So we're going to go in here. And now at the top, you can see that the contest details are here and the links, and then all the games are listed here. And then we've got all of our positions and their salaries, because we have a salary cap. You can see over here that the salary is $50,000, and that means that you can spend $5,555 a player, build your lineup on average. So we're going to see where we can get some advantage, some cheaper players, and some more expensive players. So the place that I start is up here on the games. You want to go through all the games and figure out your game script for that game. And you want to pick the game that you think is going to be extremely high scoring on both sides. And you want it to be competitive. So we just want it going back and forth and back and forth and touchdown and touchdown and touchdown. And that's the game that you're looking for. You don't want a one-sided game. So if you look at Cincinnati, New England, I think that that's going to be extremely one-sided. I think that Joe Burrow is going to have a good day, but Joe Burrow isn't going to be pushed to score 5 touchdowns against New England. He might, but the odds of him needing to do it aren't really there. They're going to get up and then they're going to run the ball a lot. So I don't want to pick that game. There are some other games that I've been on and I've built some other lineups around. Arizona Buffalo, I expect to be a high scoring game. And Indy and Houston is also expected to be a high scoring game. But one of the things that you want to do in these tournaments, so you don't want that same game script, because if you win the $1,500 in this contest for first place, you don't want to share it with 1,500 people. You don't want that same lineup. So you want to think different and you want to come up with your own high scoring game and your own script in your head. So I'm going to scroll on over to the other side of the games. Jacksonville, Miami is a good one. I am hesitant on this one. Miami tends to get off to a hot start, but I feel like Jacksonville is going to have a pretty good defense. And Florida Heat, and I'm just not really sure how that's going to go. So I haven't been on that game as my high scoring game. We're going to go through some other ones. I kind of like the Minnesota and the New York Giants game. We've got Sam Darnold in on the Minnesota side with Justin Jefferson. And then we've got the Giants, and I'm not real sure that either of these teams has a great defense. I don't really like Daniel Jones, but he has his rookie Malik Neighbors, and that one could be a sneaky one for sure. And that's kind of what you're looking for. That you're looking for that sneaky game that you can justify that being a high scoring event in your head when other people are moving off of it because it's Minnesota and the New York Giants and it's not a super exciting game to us. Lauren, I I think we're going to pick your Seahawks here. So we've got Denver at Seattle. And my concern here is that the Seahawks actually come with a defense and Denver can't actually do anything and then the Seahawks don't have to do anything. We we've seen those rookie quarterbacks like Bo Nix come in and have a great game because there's literally no film on him and teams don't know how they're going to defend him. And I can see that happening in this game.
I'd also call out that Seattle completely revamped their defense. So they're probably still trying to figure out how to work together, how everything locks in and how to handle new defenses or new offenses against them even.
Okay, that's a great point. And so maybe we go after that game. It's not a game that most people are going to be on. There are also sites that you can find and they'll tell you the expected, what's called the expected percentage owned for all the players. And you want to stay away from the high owned players unless you like splitting your $1,500. So you stay away from those. If you're playing the cash games, it's totally opposite strategy, really. Really. You don't want to be different and you want to go for the players that everyone else is playing. And we'll have to build one of those probably another night. We'll get into a cash game strategy. And then what else do we have here? Yeah, nothing else is really popping off here. So let's do Denver and the Seahawks if you want to. One of the things about the Seahawks, I assume that we're going to go on the Geno Smith side of this ball, and we're expecting the Seahawks at home to be the team that's dominating here. Or not dominating, but that it's going to be competitive and that they're going to be scoring a lot of points. We're going to look at their quarterback. So you can see on this quarterback list, Josh Allen is $8,000. If you pay for Josh Allen, then who else can you afford? Because you're already paying up so much at quarterback. And we've got a lot of value, what we call value on this list, because we're going to go down here to Geno Smith. You're going to see Geno Smith way down here, and he's at 5,500. So if we take Geno Smith, we're going to be able to afford some other players because normally your quarterbacks are a little bit more expensive than some of the players at other positions. There's, Kyler Murray at 6,400 if you wanted to go on that Arizona Buffalo game that we brought up. And if you wanted Tua and you bought into the Jacksonville Miami game that I don't quite buy into, then he's $7,000. So you'd be paying up there. So I like saving money at my quarterback spot. Now we're going to do something called stacking. If if Geno Smith has a great day, guess what? He's going to probably bring DK Metcalf with him. He's going to have a great day as well. Geno Smith isn't going to have a great day all by himself. There are very few quarterbacks that can stand alone by themselves, and those will always be your rushing quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson. Yeah, he could run all 5 touchdowns in by himself, but there are just very few that have that ability to stand alone and not bring a wide receiver with them when they have one of these crazy games that we're looking for. So we're going to skip our running backs for now and we're going to go on over and look at our wide receivers. If you go up to the game that we're looking at, you can click on the little check boxes next to the team that you want to filter their players for. So now I'm just looking at Denver and the Seahawks players, their wide receivers to be specific. What do you think? Is it going to be DK Metcalf? Should we spend 6,200 for DK Metcalf, or do we like Jackson Smith Najigba at 4,900 and save a little bit more money and maybe go after somebody that we want to pay up for in another game? Got any feelings here?
I'm
Or you want them
torn.
both?
I don't
Because
I
we
w-
could take them
I
both. Remember, the script that we're telling ourselves is this game pops off, it's 70 points, and it's just a score fest.
I mean if it's a 70-point game, I'd say Metcalf and Walker, but that gets us to a running back instead of a wide receiver.
It does. Any idea how much Walker gets passed to? I can do it. We'll just collect all the touchdowns. We're going to buy into this. And if
Why
you feel
not?
like it could be If you could be a little bit more one-sided, like the Seahawks are scoring 50 of those 70 points, then you might want to do that because Walker could just be running the ball. So we're going to go with this. Now I want to go back though, since we already picked one of our running backs, and focus a little bit more on the and who's the tight end. And yeah, we're going to skip and the tight end for the Seahawks. Well, he's questionable one for one thing, but I don't think they pass a whole lot to their tight end. So we're not going to take that tight end in Seattle. We're going to go back to the wide receivers. And I'd like a wide receiver on the Denver side because, again, game script is game goes crazy. Who's it going to be on the Denver side? Or is it going to be Sutton, Cortland Sutton on Denver? Or do we believe in one of their others? And I'm not sure. We could go real wild card and go Mims Jr. for the Broncos or Tim Patrick for the Broncos. I'm not super liking any of those. I think I'd probably if I'm gonna pick one on the Denver side, it's gonna have to be Cortland Sutton. Or we can just skip and we can say this is a little bit more one-sided and I'm gonna go somewhere else. How y'all feeling?
I like Cortland Sutton. I think that Denver has had a really good preseason, and they could be looking to show off some talent on their rookie quarterback. So I like the Cortland Sutton pick for that reason.
We also have the Denver running backs that they do like to pass to. Lauren, is this
And
where
I
you
think
were
that's what
going?
was causing me to pause. Yeah, I on the wide receiver side, I have a lot more hesitancy with Denver, but on the running back side, I feel more strong for 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 Denver for one of their running backs, either Williams or
Let's go with Williams, Javante Williams. We'll stick him in there. This is crazy. So this isn't like your normal I'm going to build a lineup this way. This is a little nuts. And but it you never know what's going to hit. Last year in the game against Denver when Miami was playing them, we saw Mostert and Achan have crazy games and they both hit 30 points. And, normally we don't see two running backs from the same team in the lineup that hits, but it can happen. And we're just telling ourselves this crazy story right now. And this is not probably the lineup that I would enter. Doesn't mean that it can't happen and you're risking a quarter. And if it's kind of fun and it keeps you cheering, was it worth a quarter? Yeah, probably. And that's what it's all about is, having fun and cheering for your team. And so if it's more fun to build a quarter lineup around your team than it necessarily is to win, and if every now and then you might see yourself on the leaderboard, then that's how you have fun and why you're doing this. Most of us aren't going to quit our day jobs and start building lineups, although a lot of people think they're going to do that. It just doesn't really happen. So I think we have enough
That is wishful
pieces picked
thinking.
from yeah. We have enough pieces picked from this game. So we're going to go back and remove those filters and look at everybody. We now have a pretty good amount of salary left. So we've still got 21,000, just 5,200 average per player. We still need another wide receiver, a tight end, a flex, and a defense. Here's kind of where I like to go grab my defense because when I go to get a defense, unless there's somebody that you're just like, nope, I know they're going to have lots of interceptions or fumble recoveries and get a pick six and score, defensive points, which none of us do. Defenses are a little bit random. I will often go to the defense and I'll start all the way at the bottom, which the last one is the Cardinals at 2,400. And I'm looking for that cheapest defense that I can get away with playing so I can save my money for for other positions. In this case, I usually like also to only pick home teams. Here in the bottom, the bottom 5 teams are all away. And I don't like any of them really either cuz all of these could have yeah, I don't like any of these teams. Then I get to Houston and Indianapolis and Indy's at home. But we already said that one's got the potential of being one of these games, so I'm going to stay away from it. Next, we've got the Texans. Next, we've got Jacksonville and Miami, and we talked that it could get out of hand too. Then I get to Tennessee and Chicago. That one's kind of interesting. So, uh, you've got your rookie quarterback, which is something I like to target on defenses because rookie quarterbacks make mistakes, and those mistakes can turn into points. So, but the Titans have had a really bad defense, and they're not at home. We're still at 2,800, so let's keep going and see what else we might find in here. Next would be the Las Vegas Raiders at the Chargers. I don't know. I'm not liking a lot of these games because these are, again, away. The Chargers hosting the Raiders. I could maybe do that one.
I feel like that Tennessee Chicago. I feel like that Bears defense is going to be a good one, and it's a pretty good bargain too.
Well, this
Um,
one is Tennessee. It's the
out of all
Titans
those choices you
defense.
have,
Oh, so you want to pay up. You want to pay up here,
yeah, I want to pay
3,400 for the
I want
Bears.
to pay up a little bit for the Bears because I still feel like that's a bit of a bargain as far as your salary goes. But I think you could get some good points out of that with the Bears against Tennessee.
All right. We'll put that in there. Let's go see who we can afford now for our wide receiver and our tight end. I'm going to go slot my tight end in first just because I feel like there are less choices on tight end. I want to see again how much money I got left. So I'm going to skip over to my tight end. Looking now for a tight end, see if there's anyone that we feel like we might be able to get some production out of and save money. Taysom Hill with the New Orleans Saints because he sometimes plays quarterback could be a good option. You might get some quarterback points because whatever he scores throwing the ball, he's going to get two in his tight end position. I don't know this year how much New Orleans is going to use him, and so that's a bit of a risk. But he's down here at 4,300, so I could definitely save some money. I also like Hunter Henry with the New England Patriots. He's usually very dependable, and New England is pretty weak on receivers, but they're also kind of weak at quarterback, but they're also going to probably need to be throwing the ball a lot in that Cincinnati game, and that would be why I like Hunter Henry. I'm not seeing anyone lower than that I would want to go to. Other than that, I would be paying up probably for Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is kind of a bargain at 4,600 if we feel like he's going to have a good game. Or you could pay up all the way for McBride. Anyone got any good feelings about any of these players?
I like Pitts. That's kind of what I was gravitating towards when we first pulled up the tight ends was 4,600 for Pitts has me feeling pretty good.
I agree. All right, let's put Pitts in. Right. Now look, our average remaining player salary is 6,500, so we've bumped up a whole thousand by choosing our tight end and our defense. And now we can go after our wide receiver and our flex. So we're going to go back to our wide receivers. You can see how you slide down looking for bargains at different positions. So, Odunze in Chicago sitting down here at 4,000. Adonai Mitchell in Indianapolis. So we've got some different players that are cheaper down here that we've talked about. We've talked about when we were drafting them. And they're just so you can start down there and then you could pay all the way up for one of your flex people, or we can go, something more middle of the road. What was another game that we liked? So let's go back, and I liked the Arizona Buffalo game. I'm going to filter on that game, and I'm going to look at the wide receivers in that game. One of the ones that stands out to me is Shakir or Keenan Coleman. I like both of them. Khalil Shakir with the Buffalo Bills is sitting at 5,100, and he's the only one that Josh Allen knows. So I like that he may have a big game. I could if this isn't the high scoring game and it is a battle, I see it being to Shakir and not to Keenan Coleman. And so that's the story I'm telling myself is happening in this game. Is this isn't the game and that they're actually having a battle. And then I could go Shakir. So this is one of the games that I like Shakir in that place. Any other games that you would like to look at?
And I guess the biggest concern there with choosing a one-sided game is that there's a point at which they stop really pushing to drive that score
Yes,
up.
that is true. I like Michael Wilson on the Arizona side as well because he is getting overlooked. Marvin Harrison Jr. is gathering all the eyes, and everyone's forgetting that Michael Wilson has been the one there with Kyler Murray. So I'm going back to kind of who the quarterbacks know and have depended on before, and that would be Michael Wilson. So I could argue that side of the ball as well in this game. Let's look at, we can toss in Houston and Indy. I also like Nico Collins, Tank Dell. I could definitely go down that route as well with either Nico or Tank Dell. And I wonder if we can get, let's try Shakir. And then for our flex, we could afford both of them. So then we could get Nico. If we took Shakir and Nico Collins, we still have $1,000 left. And then you have to decide if you want to try to go back and spend that 5,000. I kind of like all the players that we put in here. You could decide. A lot of times we made those decisions at defense so we could save that money, and now we could go back and look at defense, and if we wanted to take, the Bengals, I probably would. I know, Tiffany, you like the Bears. Do you like the Bengals better against New England?
Ooh, that could be a
Because we
good
got
one
some
though.
salary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you got to, that's where you got some extra money, and now it's like, do I go back and pay up now for that defense instead? I kind of like that. So now we have a lineup, and we can enter this lineup in our contest. I've got some credits here. I'll just go ahead and enter it. You can also, this reserve button, some of the contests do fill up kind of quickly, and you can go in and hit the reserve button, and it will just reserve an entry for you, and then you can go back and build your lineup. Just don't forget to go back and actually build your lineup, or build one really quick and then go back and change it. So what do you think? You guys like our lineup?
I like it enough
I
to
think
enter
it's a
it.
good one.
All right, let's enter it. Let's do it. It's only a quarter, right?
It's only a quarter.
Now they want me to enter it in more contests, of course. If you go up to the top next to where it says lobby, it says lineups. You can click on lineups, and our lineup will be in here. It's got all of the lineups that I've created, and you can see our Geno Smith one here. So I could edit it from here and save it back into that contest, or I could enter it into other contests by going back to the lobby and picking the contest I want to enter it in, and then it's going to pop up and let me just enter that lineup again. You can look through some of these other lineups that I have here. We'll go to the one that Quentin and I created on the other podcast, and we went down the Buffalo Arizona game. So we've got Kyler Murray stacked with Michael Wilson and Trey McBride. So that's our stack on the Arizona side. And then I guess we didn't bring, we brought in Keenan Coleman from the Bills side. And then we went totally different on running back. So we've got the Cincinnati running back, because if Cincinnati gets off to a giant lead, they'll just be handing the ball, hopefully, to Zach Moss and running, but he might not get into the end zone, but he's probably going to get a lot of touches. And then we both believed in Gus Edwards getting a lot of touches over in the Chargers game because there's nobody else to run the ball. So we liked that one. And then we got to pay up for Justin Jefferson in the Minnesota New York Giants game that we liked as well. And then we took Terry McLaurin, that piece from the Washington game, since we're all in on Jaden Daniels. And then we just kind of punted at defense. So that was the other lineup that we built. Hopefully this is kind of walk through that it's not that bad to build a lineup and to enter it. And all I've got right now in it is a quarter. And and then I'm going to sit there and watch it on my phone over the entire day. And it's going to be very entertaining. And that's what it's supposed to be, is entertaining. And you might get excited and you might do well and you might not. But as long as it's entertaining and you had a good time. That's what daily fantasy is really about, in my opinion, because sometimes, especially towards the end of our season, not all of our fantasy teams are living up to their expectation. Our season-long fantasy teams are living up to their expectation, and you just want to take somebody out for the week, and you can do it in daily fantasy.
It can be a welcome distraction when you're sitting in last place in your season-long fantasy league and you're out of your eliminator and
And you know you can do better, so spend your quarter and go get a new team.
that's right.
Any other questions? All right.
No, but I've now figured out a way to spend my quarters more easily.
Yeah, if you're not going to, Aldi and putting them in the shopping carts.
So, to wrap up, building a successful DFS lineup requires a mix of strategy, research, and a little bit of creativity and a little bit of fun. You can sometimes pick people that you think are going to do well and you love. Start with understanding the scoring system and salary cap for your contest. Prioritize value players by balancing stars with affordable options who have high upside, picking those games that are going to be high scoring and going off of that. Stack players from the same game or team when appropriate, especially in favorable matchups. Always keep an eye on the news, injury updates, and weather conditions. Update your lineup if someone goes from questionable to out before finalizing your lineup, as this information can make or break your selections. And remember, there is no one-size-fits-all strategy. Part of the fun is experimenting, figuring out what works best for your style of play. Stick to your budget, enjoy the thrill of competition, and don't be afraid to take calculated risk. Happy lineup building.
If you're enjoying the Fangirl Football podcast and you're ready to dive into the season, go to our website at fangirlfootball.com and join a league and play with us. Share your link with friends and play together. Winners will get some Fangirl Football swag.